I hope you've got yourself a drink or a coffee handy, because we're going to go through everything we officially know about Assassin's Creed Shadows that has been released over the last few years, including gameplay mechanics, interviews, updates, and news articles, all released by Ubisoft, as well as my own hands-on experiences. I'm actually playing the game right now in early access. So this is that one-stop shop video which will get you completely up to speed on Shadows before launch, so you can decide if it's worth your time, attention, and hard-earned cash. I've also, of course, put timestamps down below in this big boy video for you, because it's important to me not to waste your time, so you can always come back to this video if you want to, or continue where you left off, or just skip ahead to a topic that you're quite interested in, with no links and no spoilers in this video, by the way. It's all above board, it's all official, so you're all sorted, you're all good. And let's start with some general overview info about Shadows, so we're all up to speed and we're all on the same page. It will be released on Thursday, March the 20th, and is a single-player open-world action RPG game that will be releasing on the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Amazon Luna, PC through Ubisoft Connect, the Epic Game Store, and Steam, but not Steam Deck, as well as Mac computers if you have a new Mac that can handle it. Additionally, if you are subscribed to Ubisoft Plus Premium, you will get it on day one with no further expense needed. Now, Ubisoft have also confirmed that you will need a internet connection to install the game and download the day one patch to sort out the kind of last minute bugs. Hopefully there's not too many, but after that, you won't need the internet to play the game if you don't want to. Now, as for system requirements, Ubisoft recently stated in a tech Q&A article that both the PS5 and Xbox Series X will run the game at 60 FPS and 4K resolution upscaling when set to performance mode. Now, the PC, of course, is able to handle those ultra high settings. In fact, I will pop up the low and high recommended settings from Ubisoft on your screen right now if you want to take a screenshot and review that a little bit later. Incidentally, if you plan to play the game on Steam, you won't need to download the Ubisoft Connect launcher to play the game. You'll just need to kind of link your Ubisoft account to Steam before you download it, which will also enable cross-save progression across the platforms if you do have a console. Now, as for game file size, at the time of recording this video for you, Apple has listed their required file size to install it on their Macs at 123 gigabytes on their website, with Xbox also very recently allowing preload downloads right now, with that coming in at 107 gigabytes, meaning it's likely going to be the same for the PS5, with preloading for that console being available on the 18th of March. Now, Ubisoft cancelled their Season Pass offering last year with various different game edition tiers, so pre-orders now have been revamped following aggressive feedback. So what are these new editions, what do they cost, and what do you actually get in them? Well, first up, we've got the standard edition here, which comes in at £59, 69 euros and $69 for my North American friends. And not only do you get the base game, of course, but if you do pre-order the standard edition, you'll also receive the upcoming Claws of Awaji DLC expansion, which I will explain in a little more detail for you shortly, along with the bonus quest Thrown to the Dogs. Now, Ubisoft does have a habit of making these bonus quests available for free several months after through Ubisoft Connect for coins. So in my opinion, it's not worth pre-ordering, or if you're considering pre-ordering the standard edition just for this mission, because you'll get it for free in a few months' time. However, Ubisoft really wants this game to sell. So on top of the standard pre-order bonuses, certain retailers around the world that have partnered with Ubisoft are also offering you extra incentives for you to spend your money with them. Firstly, Amazon is offering you Naoe's Sekiro armor set, while Walmart and Game in the UK are providing you with Yasuke's Sekiro armor set, so it's not the full pack. And Target here is throwing in the official steelbook case, which, to be fair, looks incredibly high quality. That is a steal there for a pre-order bonus, I must say. With Best Buy is offering you a lithograph set, which is essentially concept art prints on high quality paper. Now, as for my European and international friends, Ubisoft is offering you a 20% discount on Shadows if you purchase the game through Ubisoft Connect and apply 100 of your Ubisoft coins at checkout. And if you use my AndyReloads credit code at checkout, you'll actually get an extra 1 cent or 1 penny off your game purchase, because, you know, in these challenging financial times, every penny counts. I'm not even joking. You take that penny off Ubisoft, and yeah, cheers for your support. I do very much appreciate it. Now, let's move on to the digital deluxe edition, which comes in at £75, 90 euros and $90. And you will get everything from the standard edition, including the DLC, expansion, and the bonus quest. But you will also pick up the full Sekiro deluxe pack, which includes those armor sets for both Naoe and Yasuke. You'll also get the Eye of the Dragon Sword, the Beast Mount, and the Dragon Tooth trinket. You'll also pick up various Hideout cosmetics, including the Sekiro mask, the tapestry, Wagasa, which is a Japanese umbrella, I believe, and the Mitsubaki, which is essentially a Japanese pot. And by the way, apologies in advance if my pronunciation is off throughout this video. If you know the correct way to say these Japanese words, please phonetically put it in the comments. I would very much appreciate it. Now, the final bonus for the Digital Deluxe Edition here is 5 mastery points that you can spend immediately when you start the game. And back in November, Ubisoft also advertised a red dragon photo mode filter exclusively for this edition, but buried away in the small print on their website, it now states that this filter will be available for all players in game. So there you go, if you were wondering about that. I'm sure a load of you were, but hey, you're gonna get it for free now. And actually, just for reference, this Digital Deluxe Edition was actually previously called the Ultimate Edition, but with one big difference, and that's the original version included early access to the expansion and was originally priced at £114, 129 euros and $129. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is they've actually cut this edition now down to between $30 and $40, and in my opinion, it's now a much fairer price for what you're getting in terms of content and entertainment value, as this is going to be a big boy game to complete with lots of updates in the future. Now, if you are a Ubisoft Plus subscriber, meaning you pay or you're considering paying £15, €18 or $18 per month to get access to all of Ubisoft's games, you will get everything in the Digital Deluxe Edition on day one, which means that if you don't want to spend between $60 and $90 on this game as a full game purchase, you could just subscribe to Ubisoft Plus, complete the game, and then cancel your sub once you're done with it. But of course, if you then want to play the DLC expansion when it releases months later, you will have to then resubscribe, which is of course a strategic move there from Ubisoft. So before I break down what's actually included in this DLC so you can decide if it's worth your time or an upgrade, let's quickly go over the revamped Collector's Edition, which is also available for pre-order now. And just like the two other editions, this has been reduced in price as well, dropping from £239 to $199, $279 to $229, and $279 to $229. So about a $40 to $50 price cut since last year. But that's because they've also removed the 3-day early access bonus and access to the additional DLC in the season pass. So if you manage to get your hands on one of these collector's editions, this is what you're going to get inside it. You get everything included in that Digital Deluxe Edition that we just went through, as well as a Naoe and Yasuke dual character statue, which stands in approximately 40 centimeters or 15.5 inches. And I actually saw this in person when I attended Ubisoft Forward in LA last year, and I won't lie, it looked pretty sick. It was also bigger than I expected and looked very well made, and certainly in line with Ubisoft's previous collector's edition models in terms of quality. Yeah, when I did see it in front of me. You'll also get a steel bookcase, which, as I've already mentioned, looks pretty solid visually. And I just want to give a shout out here to Dusty Chakra, who mentioned in the comments on a recent video I made that the Target pre-order steel bookcase is different from this one in the collector's edition. So if I just put them together here for you on your screen, you can kind of see the difference. And yeah, cheers for the heads up on that one, because I completely missed that. Now, alongside this, you'll also pick up a 76-page false leather cover art book, which has actually been reduced from 86 pages initially advertised last year. And this was put together by the development team and features characters, weapons, and environmental concept art. There's also a set of 2 lithographs printed on A4 sized paper, created by Japanese artist Yoshi Wakyu, featuring Naoe and Yasuke. On top of that, you'll grab a life-size katana tsuba, apologies for the pronunciation there again, which is Naoe's custom sword guard that mounts above the katana grip, and this also comes with its own stand. And it keeps going, because you'll also get a world map of the game, which I've placed next to the lithographs here and the scroll here, so you can kind of get a sense of the scale. Speaking of which, this scroll is called the Creed Wall Scroll, which reads, "From vengeance to solidarity, from darkness to light, a new creed rises over Japan." Pretty cool, and it's made of fabric with a wooden frame, and it is 70 to 30 centimeters wide, which is roughly the size of a large mouse pad on your desk, which, yeah, just for an example here, you can kind of see how big it's going to be. And to be honest with you, being as objective as I possibly can, as far as collector's editions goes, this seems pretty solid in terms of both quality and value for money, especially compared to other collector's editions that we've seen recently released from different studios in the last couple years. Now, as for this DLC expansion, which you will get for free if you've pre-ordered any edition, of course, this has been created by Ubisoft Bordeaux, who recently released Mirage and who I also met in person and are really wonderful, talented people. So this gives me a bit of encouragement and confidence here when it comes to actually a decent expansion, which will be releasing, well, as what the website currently says, is later in 2025. So if we look at historical release schedules for AC games, you can expect the first expansion around 6 months after launch, meaning late summer or kind of towards Christmas. Now, this expansion will feature 10 hours of new content where we will unlock a bow weapon for Naoe, as well as new skills and abilities. But when it comes to its location, it's going to be taking place on a mysterious island called Awaji, which is located beyond the Osaka Bay, which, by the way, is an actual place in Japan. And if you look at this fogged out section of the map, I think we can say with 99% certainty that's where the DLC is going to be set. Now, as for the storyline, it's going to be about Naoe and Yasuke, of course, but they are recovering a lost treasure, apparently, but they're being hunted by a new faction called the Sengoku people, who presumably guard this treasure. And Ubisoft have stated that there will be lots of traps and ambushes set by the Sengoku people, so expect something similar to what we saw in the Tombs of the Fallen update back in Valhalla in 2023, which had lots of puzzles to solve and traps to parkour over. Now, if you are enjoying the videos so far, please do leave a very swift like down below. So thanks very much for your support. And good news, I'm also running a Shadows game giveaway. You just need to be a subscriber of the channel to enter, as well as leave a comment down below to actually enter the draw. The AI bot will pick a winner and I will announce that winner on launch day. So very best of luck to you. Now, when it comes to game length, how long will this actually take to complete? And if you want that platinum trophy, how long is it going to then take you to get 100%? Well, Jonathan Dumont, the creative director, stated to me in an interview in Quebec that the main story is comparable to Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. Now, Origins took around 30 hours to complete, with Odyssey coming in at 43 and Valhalla at 56, according to How Long to Beat aggregated game data on average from players. So taking the average of that play time from those games, you're looking at an approximation of around 40 hours for the main game, with around 120 to 130 hours for a full 100% completion run. And on top of that, Brooke Davies, the associate narrative director, confirmed that there will not be multiple endings in Shadows and that there is only one single canon ending that we'll all experience, which is a good transition onto the storyline now, because what is this game all about? Well, it takes place in feudal Japan in 1579 and continues into the early 1580s, which means that this is the first game to feature assassins and Templars in their kind of classic form since Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which released back in 2015, nearly 10 years ago now. It's also an incredibly pivotal setting in Japanese history, and it's the last time the samurai would fight any major battle with one another, as well as being the last time they actually would have a very strict military role and responsibility throughout the country, which means we will see prominent historical figures in this game like Oda Nobunaga, who was known as one of the great unifiers of Japan and will play a very important role in both protagonist stories. Now, the first protagonist is Naoe, who is a shinobi assassin from the Iga province, trained by her father, master shinobi ninja Fujibayashi Nagato, who was a real person, with Naoe looking to avenge her Iga home after it was razed to the ground by Nobunaga's forces. Speaking of which, this is where Yasuke comes in, who was likely born in Mozambique and subsequently was brought to Japan as a slave by the Portuguese, and according to Ubisoft became a samurai in the employment of Oda Nobunaga, which is how these two characters kind of meet and become allies, but we don't yet know why they team up as a dynamic duo in the game at the moment. That said, as I confirmed during my playtest, we can switch to both characters throughout the game with not too many limitations. More on that in a little bit, but there is a lot of flexibility in kind of using the character that we want throughout Shadows, as the open world has been designed for both characters according to Ubisoft. So if you want to play the majority of the game as Naoe or Yasuke, then that isn't really going to be an issue in Shadows. Now, that's a nice segue onto the storyline mechanics in this game called Canon Mode, which automatically selects dialogue answers for you. So if you prefer a non-dialogue gaming experience and want to play the game as the developers have narratively intended, then make sure you activate it from the beginning when you start a new save or a new game, because you won't then have another opportunity to change it in the settings for the rest of your time with Shadows. And I did test this dialogue feature in my playtest, where I walked up to these Ronin and I picked each of the 3 different dialogue outcomes after then going back and loading previous saves. And you can eventually avoid combat if you do pick the right pathway through these dialogue features, but that then doesn't affect the quest outcome or overall the ending of the game, as we've just discussed. So it doesn't really matter, but it's totally up to you and how you want to play this game. Now, as for immersive mode, this is another feature in Shadows that automatically sets and locks the voiceover language to Japanese and Portuguese, and this is designed to provide a more authentic experience for the time period. In fact, Ubisoft recently released a teaser showcasing what this actually sounds like, so give this a listen. So yeah, a pretty cool feature, to be honest with you, which you can turn on and off in the settings, so certainly worth giving a go to see what you think of it and whether you want to play it for the rest of the game. Now let's go over some explorative info and some big upgrades for this AC game, starting with the map, because how big is this game, Shadows? Well, it's pretty big, but not as big as Valhalla, because that's confirmed to me by Simon Lemaire-Comtois, the associate director. The map is roughly the same size to Egypt in Assassin's Creed Origins, and it is smaller than Valhalla in terms of territory. And I've kind of whipped up a up-to-scale, on-scale animation of what that can approximately look like here in comparison to Valhalla. But you may have noticed that this map does not include the whole of Japan, whereas Valhalla does include the whole of England. But there is a reason for that, as Simon stated that at this point in history, the story that the team wanted to focus on was mostly in central Japan, as something significant happens in Kyoto, Osaka, and Azuchi at that time, so those places needed to be included in the game as some of the main narrative markers in the Shadows storyline. In fact, Kyoto and Osaka are the 2 largest areas or cities in this game, with Charles also confirming to me in person that the city of Kyoto is half the size of the Unity map, with 7 specific castles inside of it for us to clear each season, with Jonathan Dumont, the creative director, also confirming to me that the team wanted to have a closer to real life scale ratio. So that means that the map will feel less dense and it will be more busy with certain locations like towns, trading ports, castles, and urban buildings rendered at a 1-to-1 scale, so it feels real and immersive when you're just walking through these places. Now, not only that, but across this huge map, or all across it, we have another new mechanic in Shadows, which art director Thierry Dansaru is calling world dynamism when I spoke to him, which is a fancy word that has been applied to the props and objects throughout the game, making almost everything pretty much breakable, meaning that the oranges in nearby markets can explode when your katana comes into contact with them, but exploding barrels can also cause debris and disperse loads of rubbish around the area after the explosion, which then allows you to crouch or hide behind those objects in stealth, staying out of line of sight. And more on stealth shortly, because combined with the new destructive environments, one of the biggest additions to exploration in this game is the weather system that is tailored to each of the 9 regions in Shadows, with NPCs in the game reacting differently to, for example, deep fog, thunderstorms, heavy wind, rain, and when the sun is shining. Now, this of course means that by hiding in a specific bush in the spring won't then be there or available for us to hide in when the in-game season has changed to winter. So when the game changes its weather system, we have to kind of change our gameplay, and let's go through how all of that works right now. So there's 4 seasons in the game: spring, summer, autumn, and winter, of course, and each season has its own icon here in the middle of the compass, which denotes what season that we are currently in game. So for example, we are currently in spring as the flowers are blooming. Now that also means that when this compass is full, where each of the individual bars around the compass fills up, we can then change seasons, with Jonathan Dumont recently confirming to Euraptor in a live stream that each season takes 2.5 hours in game to complete. But it's not as easy as that, because each individual season is also broken up to 2 mini seasons. So there's 2, well, what the developers call step seasons within spring, each being around 60 to 70 minutes. So the transition from winter to spring isn't just immediate and sudden, but it's more of a gradual change in terms of the melting of snow and it not being so abrupt or jarring. That said, that doesn't mean that once your season compass is full that you're then forced to change into a different season or in between step season. As confirmed to me, you can actually stay in a season for as long as you want, but only if you don't interact or trigger a story cutscene, fast travel across the map, swap characters in the menu, or even enter your hideout, because if you do any of those things and your compass is then full, the game will then automatically pop these season transition cutscenes onto your screen. So it's really kind of good to keep that in mind if you're grinding out assassin missions in castles, because you then won't be able to swim underwater like Naoe's doing here in the winter months, as the pond is of course going to be frozen over. So there's going to be several variations of one single type of mission in this game thanks to this weather system. Speaking of which, what's changing with synchronization points or viewpoints in this game? Well, first of all, there is no flying companion or eagle or bird in Shadows like we've seen across the previous or several RPGs, where you could scout and mark enemies from the air before approaching a hostile area, ready for you to get there for infiltration, so you couldn't get spotted. Now, the reason behind its omission in Shadows is because, as Mark Alexis Cote put it, they want to encourage us, the gamers, to reach high ground via parkour ourselves and not have the bird do all of the work for us, which can just scout and mark everything, which almost completely eliminates the need for us to parkour at all. Now, they've also changed mechanically here in this game, because they no longer reveal or unfog large sections of the world map along with all of the quest icons or side quests then just appearing when you do open your map menu, because once you do climb to the top of the viewpoint and synchronize, you will instead now have to manually observe your surroundings and specifically identify and discover points of interest that you can then go to on your map manually. Now, this observe feature is a 360-degree aim and lock-on feature, essentially. It's the best I can kind of describe it, where you just hold L2 or LT on your controller, and then you can manually zoom in or zoom in and tag enemies or points of interest that you then want to select and add to your compass at the top of the screen. That said, it doesn't reveal what those quests or activities are until you visit them in person, so they will be listed as undiscovered locations or question marks until you reach that location, which is when it will then reveal what that point of interest is, which is all intentional from the team, by the way, as they want you to go out and explore in this game, discovering what each of these question marks are, rather than just having it all revealed at once after syncing on that synchronization viewpoint. Now, they still act as fast travel points, of course, and you will want to parkour up them with Naoe specifically, as she'll be able to reach the top very quickly. Whereas if you're with Yasuke, who is very limited with his parkour mechanics, which I will explain in more detail shortly, well, he's just going to be running up several flights of stairs, fighting various guards in the process, which is annoying after the second time you do it, to be honest with you, especially if you just want to unlock it, tag some targets in the distance and move on pretty quickly. So yeah, when you get in game, switch to Naoe, climb up, sync, you're going to thank yourself in the long run. Now, what about this observe mechanic? Well, it can also be used when you're on the ground or not on a synchronization point, so you're not just locked in when you reach the top of the sync point of the viewpoint, as it were, meaning that you can walk around any area or hostile area which is surrounded by guards and do some intel by holding that LT button to discover loot and even highlight and discover assassination targets before you decide to stealth into the compound itself. Now, it is important to note here that this is separate from Naoe's eagle vision mechanic, which does return in Shadows, which, by the way, Yasuke does not have access to. Only Naoe has access to eagle vision. But not only can she utilize this eagle vision, which you can trigger by using the R3 joystick on your controller, it is a independent mechanic in this game from observe. But when I played the game in Quebec, I've just found it way easier as a general habit to activate them both at the same time. So holding L2 and clicking R3 simultaneously, because eagle vision allows you to identify and highlight enemy positions via the sound that they make through the walls, which your observe aim ability can then just tag them so you know where they all are at all times. So this means that by utilizing both of them, yeah, you can just tag all of the important stuff in your vicinity so you don't miss out or bump into an enemy that you hadn't located before you began your mission. Now, staying on navigation a little while longer here because we have a couple of game mode options that you need to be aware of. Firstly, we have the guided exploration mode, which works like the traditional RPG style quest markers in the past Assassin's Creed games. So turning this on will automatically display quest objectives on your map, whereas the Shadow's navigational default settings are intended to make you figure it out yourself. And I will put a side-by-side map comparison on your screen right now so you can kind of see the difference between the settings and what I'm talking about here. And secondly, we have the in-game Pathfinder mode option, which you can toggle on or off by using the left D-pad button in-game at any time you want, which will then show you a directional line that is imposed onto the terrain in front of you, guiding you to your next world objective or out of a sticky situation you found yourself in, or in a mountainous area and you can't find your way out, without the need to constantly check the map in the main menu or fast travel away. So I do think it's a great quality of life mechanic here if you do want an easier time exploring in the game. Now, what about this objective or quest board, and how does that work alongside navigation, as I don't feel like it's been explained very well from the recent exploration article from Ubisoft, as I felt it just added to the confusion on how it actually operates in this game. Well, in my opinion, the best way to think about this menu is by splitting it into 3 sections, those being story, side quests, and assassination targets independent of the main narrative. Now, starting with this middle section, which is responsible for tracking all mandatory main storyline quests, which includes the hunting and assassination of the 12 Shinbaku targets, with Shodai commenting on a recent video asking if the Shinbaku name had been changed to the Onryo as was shown in the latest Ubisoft teaser clip. And my understanding is in Japanese the word Onryo, again excuse the pronunciation, means ghosts or unknown entities, with Shinbaku translating to, or loosely translating to, new shogunate. So I imagine that we'll find out in the story, or it will be made clear to us when this transition happens from unknown to known. In any case, above the Shinbaku and referencing that same teaser clip from Ubisoft, we can see the League, which includes unique quest lines for our allies as well as character specific quests for Naoe and Yasuke. And in the bottom section of this menu, we have a faction here called the Kabuki Mono, and the best way to think about them is like the cultists in Odyssey, where the majority of them are optional, meaning you don't have to locate or kill them if you don't want to and you just want to focus on the main story, with several dozen factions available in the game for us to also engage with. Now, for the top half of the board, we have the people of Setsu, which denotes a group of quest givers that live in specific regions and provide optional side quests apart from the main story. And you can kind of see the region here from my captured footage on the map, that being Setsu. In fact, one of the quests from this dude in Setsu is to kill the leaders of the Kabuki Mono faction, as they're causing problems for the people in his province, as just an example here. So expect more quest giving factions and boards like this to appear as you go out and explore the world. Now, what about character switching? Well, as I just mentioned, you can choose to play the game predominantly as just one character if you want to, but if you were to prefer to flick back and forth between characters to maximize their special abilities, then you can also do that quite easily from the menus. Even when you're midway through a quest, you can start it with Yasuke and finish it with Naoe, but only if that quest is not a black box mission. And on the whole, I think that's good, but it's not without its faults. So to give you an example of what I mean here, I started a side quest with Yasuke, switched midway through to Naoe, and then returned to that initial quest giver as Naoe instead of Yasuke, where the NPC mentioned being pleased to see Naoe again, when actually it was the first time I've met him with her. Another example being where I spent about 20 minutes scaling a fortified castle in stealth, purposefully avoiding enemies, where I then reached the quest target at the top of the castle, entered a cutscene, to then suddenly see Yasuke just waltzing into the room alongside, I was about to say me, but Naoe, like he'd also just backflipped up the castle walls, which he most certainly cannot do, by the way. And I will break down his parkour limitations for you very shortly, don't worry. Anyway, I raised this issue with the development team, who told me they're working on continuity improvements and have already added in small comments or references in these type of unique scenes to breach this juxtaposition issue. And I'll give you an example for you here of what I mean.
I've taken care of his hidden shinobi. Did his samurai prove troublesome?
Nothing I could not handle.
So as you can see, they're trying to kind of bridge that gap there a little bit. That said, it's important to know that when you begin main storyline quests such as black box stealth missions, which I'll again explain how they work for you shortly, well, once you confirm your choice of character in stages of these missions, you're then locked in and you can't reload an earlier save to then change your mind or switch back to the character that you really want to play as without losing all of your progress in that black box quest. Now, this is something to keep in mind and could potentially be very frustrating for you in game, because I chose Yasuke for one of these quest stages where in hindsight I should have really chosen Naoe, because this meant that again I needed to run up 35 flights of stairs inside the castle, smashing down doors and climbing up more ladders, which took around 15 minutes longer, whereas if I had chosen Naoe it could have been done in under 5 minutes by just scaling the castle walls like a absolute ninja. So there are restrictions on this or about this character switching mechanic, but if you just plan to play as one character, then don't worry about this too much, as it won't really have an impact for you during the game. Now let's talk about how allies work in this game, but also your scouts and what impact they'll have during your playthrough. Firstly, allies, these are companions that have their own unique storylines in the game that will be a part of that league quest board that we just went through, where to unlock them you'll first need to find them in specific locations across the map, and once you do, complete their introductory quests, which will then allow you to recruit them back to your hideout. So as far as I'm aware, or what I was told, there are 5 or 6 allies in the game, where the final number would be clarified at launch, where I was also informed that it would be possible to recruit them all before you make significant headway with the main storyline, with some of them being romanceable, by the way. In fact, they have recently released a trailer about a new ally called Genjo, who is a womanizer that is also a thief and enjoys dabbling in pyrotechnics and a shed load of sake, apparently. Actually, take a listen to this quick clip from that teaser trailer.
Is this where you bring all the girls?
Yup.
So yeah, he's become infatuated with Naoe as a romance ally because, as Ubisoft puts it, she's not an easy catch and is the one person who challenges him. So if you fancy romancing a drunk womanizer who throws grenades around shadows around this game, Genjo is the ally for you. Incidentally, whilst we're on the romance topic, Akeem Milne, Quebec's Associate Director of Cinematic Design, kindly informed me in my early access session that one of the things that the team have spent a considerable amount of time on over the last 4 years is creating animations for social dialogue in game that make these relationships feel more authentic and real, as well as being visually representative of the hierarchical social structure in Japan. This means that certain NPCs won't look other NPCs in the eye if they belong to a higher social class, or flirting between allies will become a lot more nuanced due to these upgrades compared to previous games, which you'll now notice very subtly in cutscenes. But when it comes to a gameplay perspective, these allies have their own unique abilities, which you can then utilize in the game and activate once their cooldown has finished from their previous use. So for example, Yasuke here, he is our assassin ally, and he's able to instantly kill NPCs or assassinate them after you use your eagle whistle. You can also then upgrade Yasuke or these allies 3 times in the dojo building in your hideout, which then increases the effectiveness of their abilities. So using Yasuke again as an example here for you, once upgraded, he will be able to chain assassinate when at a max level of 3. So now he's going to be able to perform 2 instant kills for you when you do call him in, compared to the 1 instant kill that he did for you before. You can also only equip 2 allies in your loadout at the same time once you level up your dojo to rank 2, which appears in the bottom right hand corner of your screen when you kind of hold RT or R2 on your controller. So it will be a case of you choosing which allies' abilities best suits your own gameplay style in this game, which ones you prefer to use. And as for their customization options, during my hands-on time at Quebec, I did confirm that Yaya and Yasuke do have their own cosmetic outfits that can be changed at the dojo, so expect a lot of cosmetic outfits to drop for them in game, or alternatively to be purchased by yourself through the MTX store if you're that way inclined. Now, as for scouts and your spy network, let's go over how this works and why they are distinctively different from allies. And in my opinion, the best way to think about this mechanic is almost like a resource and not as a temporary companion like your ally. First of all, though, you need to recruit them, which can be done by saving random NPCs via world events that you'll come across whilst exploring, where upon finishing their quest, you'll then have a choice if you want to recruit them. And if you do, you'll then get an additional scout added to your main menu, as you can kind of see here. Now, the main main function is to allow you to find the location of a clue, a target, or follow-up quest objective on your world map by uncovering a circular part of the map by spending one scout, as you can kind of see me do here. In fact, the more scouts that you deploy at once, the larger this scouting reveal radius will be, so it will increase your odds of finding what you're looking for on the map. But if you found the correct area for the first time, you can then use another 2 scouts and generate more clues about your target whilst reducing that clue zone down to a very specific location so you know exactly where you're going next. I also tested if you can waste or spend a scout on an area that you've then already revealed, but you can't. So that's a good quality of life mechanic there, because it would have been really annoying to then just accidentally waste a scout for no reason. But that said, even if you burn through all of your scouts available and you don't want to wait until the season ends before they then refresh, you can just head to a Kakarega hideout in one of the provinces, which operates like a Assassin Bureau in previous games, where this will allow you to refresh your scouts for money, but also allow you to recruit more scouts for you to use as you upgrade the building over time, or by successfully completing contracts or quests from people in that specific region, similar to the type of quest that we spoke about earlier on that objective board. These also become fast travel points for you as well, the Kakuregas, and you can then switch out your allies in your loadout if you want to try someone new and can't be bothered to fast travel all the way back to your hideout. Now, another mechanic that these scouts are integral to and will be unavoidable in the game, and that is smuggling, which means you'll need to steal resources and return them back to your hideout to upgrade different buildings. So if you played the river raids in Valhalla, the resource restrictions for upgrading Ravensthorpe work the same way here in Shadows. Now, what that means is across the map, clans are warring against each other, but unlike in Odyssey, we can't influence that ourselves. Instead, all we can do is identify which fortresses, castles, or clan hideouts have the most resources to steal, and this is marked by a wealth rank of high, medium, or low when you hover over a location on the map. And of course, high wealth locations will offer more resources than low wealth locations, but the trade-off being that they'll be more heavily guarded. However, once you do stealth into All Clearer camp and enter the warehouse there, you can then tag resources for your scouts to retrieve by wrapping this little ribbon around them, and once that is then done, you'll see a salvage icon appear on your map, which means a scout is now assigned to bring back 78 stones or minerals back to your base at the end of the season, which you can't then undo. So the only issue here is we need to make sure that we have enough scouts to smuggle resources back to our hideout, because if you grind out bases all over the map quite quickly, you're then going to run out of scouts fast, and then you're just going to be leaving a lot of resources on the table. But it doesn't stop there for scouts, because another thing that they can be used for is resetting your wanted meter in each province, which is a nice segue onto how this mechanic works, because what happens when you do become wanted in this game? Well, these guardian enemies appear, similar to the Shakaria bosses in Mirage, which are a lot more difficult than your just standard brute enemies in this game. In fact, I asked Charles Benoit, the game director, about this, who told me that there are very specific guardians that are guarding legendary weapons and armor in the game in specific castles that can be interpreted as mini bosses. However, the guardians that are summoned because of a bell ring in a specific camp within a specific province won't drop legendary loot or gear, so we can't farm them repeatedly every time we become wanted. I also asked Akeem Milne what's the fastest or best way to reset this notoriety meter, and he said you could just use your scouts in the map menu, you could change your season or just switch characters, and that'll pretty much reset it. So yeah, even though the alarm does cause the province to go on high alert, increasing enemy detection of you, you can reset it pretty quickly with no detrimental effects, which is good or bad depending upon your own opinion or playstyle. And speaking of playstyle, before we go into a full breakdown of how combat works, just so we're all on the same page again, I'm going to run you through this new Assassin's Creed UI and what each section means, as it will have a big impact on how you play the game. Starting with the bottom left diamond, in the bottom left hand corner we have the ration health icon on the top D-pad button, with our primary weapon on the right and our secondary weapon on the left, meaning that we can switch between those two weapons quickly in and out of combat playing as Yasuke, or it will be an objective marker if we're playing as Naoe, that's my understanding anyway. Bottom D-pad button is the sound mechanic, which we can then use to whistle, make a noise, and encourage enemies to a specific point where we are. And next to that we have the health bar, and above that the 3 adrenaline diamonds, which we will gain by building combos in combat, which we can spend these adrenaline diamonds by utilizing the specific character abilities on the right hand diamond the right hand side of your screen by holding R2 and pressing the assign controller button for each ability. So if you're on PlayStation, that's going to be triangle, square, X and circle to activate an ability that you've socketed into that slot, and more on that shortly, because the navigation bar at the top returns from the previous AC RPGs with the stealth eye indicating when we're in and out of line of sight when stealthing. We also have the yellow armor bar above the white health bar of an enemy when in combat, and their assign level on the left, which is an Odyssey level mechanic here in this game, which can be associated with our own gear and weapon levels. Again, I'll explain this for you very simply in just a moment. Because let's go through how this whole combat system fundamentally works in this game, because if you played Valhalla or in fact Odyssey, then this game will be very familiar to you in terms of hacking and slashing combat mechanics, but I do think it has been substantially improved, even if the fundamentals remain the same, with Charles confirming both games have common ground in their core architecture. Starting with our offensive maneuvers though, those are going to be the general light attacks initiated by spamming your R1 or RB button, which are quick, reliable, and inflict small incremental combo building damage against the enemy, essentially, with heavy attacks outputting more damage by pressing your RT or R2 button. The caveat being, of course, that the animation will take a little longer to complete, but if you do successfully land one of these heavy attacks, the enemy will often stagger back and give you a little bit more room or space to then follow up with another attack to build that combo generation. This is also how you then build those combos, if you didn't know, in this game, which is just by mixing light and heavy attacks together at the correct time to then generate a higher damage output. In fact, the damage that you can produce does become outrageously good if you do utilize this new system called posture attacks, which is the main difference between Shadows and Valhalla here. Now, how you activate them is by holding the light or heavy attack buttons, which you can hold indefinitely, by the way, and when you feel that, or when you see it's the right time to attack your enemy, which your weapon will actually notify you that your posture charge is ready for maximum damage, by the way. As you can see here, it kind of just glints or flickers on your screen, then that successful posture attack will break their guard, and if you then follow up with an assortment of light or heavy attacks to build combos, that will then demolish the enemy pretty quickly, stripping some enemies of their armor as well, which is that yellow bar at the top of the screen that we just spoke about, meaning that their defenses have been removed and can be killed pretty quickly, generating some pretty sweet looking animations in the process. The thing is though, Charles recently confirmed that the enemy AI knows when you're charging your posture attacks and will try to interrupt you, as you can't block whilst in this stance, so you need to time this correctly or face getting hit and losing that combo streak. That said, if you manage to keep your combo streak alive, you can spend those adrenaline diamonds on special attacks that you've unlocked and equipped in your right hand corner diamond. And one mechanical change regarding the system I did like during my playtest was when you initiate these special abilities, you don't actually then become locked into an animation or immune to damage, which means that you can die during these locked animation segments, which has a bit of risk to it. It also doesn't automatically lock you onto enemies in the vicinity when you trigger a special move, so you can miss enemies entirely and then waste combo points in the process and have to wait for the cooldown of your ability as well. So to stop this from happening, you need to either lock onto your enemies with that trusty R3 joystick on your controller, or manually aim Yasuke or Naoe at the enemy in the right direction before triggering your special abilities, which makes close combat a lot more challenging in my opinion. Now, moving on to defense, let's run through the default inbound combat indicators first, where a white weapon glow means a standard incoming attack from the enemy can be parried or dodged, with the blue glow meaning an incoming flurry of rapid light attacks are about to happen, so you need to parry them back to back to open the enemy up for a solid counter attack. And finally, our unstoppable red glow means that an attack is unblockable, so you need to dodge or sidestep out of the way so you don't take damage. That said, each character does operate slightly differently when it comes to reacting to these attacks. So for example, Naoe will roll and Yasuke will sidestep to the side, as he's a big boy and he's not that mobile or agile. In fact, when Naoe does dodge or parries, which is now called deflecting, by the way, well, whenever she deflects at the right time, it then places the enemy in a vulnerable state window, which is indicated by the enemy entering a slow motion animation, which you can see here. This is the time where she can do a lot of damage, or where your special abilities are then buffed to do nuclear amounts of damage output. So definitely wait for that. I would say that opening to use them, and the same thing can be said, or the same thing happens for Yasuke. If he dodges or parries a flurry of incoming quick blue light attacks from the enemy, he'll then bounce the enemy back, opening them up for his own type of counter attack whilst they're in their vulnerable state as well. Additionally, when Naoe does deflect or parry, she sidesteps or pushes the enemy away, meaning she can do more damage from behind the enemy, as confirmed by Ubisoft. The only caveat to that is it does become really quite challenging using her in open combat, especially in the middle of a group of enemies, as they don't queue up to kind of hit you or Yasuke like previous games would, and because of that, several enemies will immediately swarm her and attack her simultaneously at the same time and do significant damage when she deflects several attacks back to back. You're just in this loop. It doesn't really do anything, and the problem is with that as well, she is very squishy in this game in terms of resistance to damage, and she does get nuked pretty quickly, similar in design to Bassam actually in Mirage most recently, where the dev team just wanted you to kind of run away and reset the stealth loop, whereas with Yasuke you can just stand there and take hits all day like Eivor could in Valhalla. But it's all really going to come down to how you want to play combat in this game. So if you want open combat with Naoe, you can certainly do that, but your skill level is going to be, well, you're going to need to be a good player basically to be able to handle everything that's kind of thrown at you. Now let's go through all of the weapons that you'll be able to use for Naoe and Yasuke in this game, because both of these protagonists have unique weapons that only they can use, meaning there's 8 weapon classes in total that have their own set of abilities and gameplay traits. And let's start with Naoe and her katana, which is her best all-round offensive weapon according to Ubisoft, as it offers a fair balance of damage output, speed, and a swift reaction after defending incoming attacks. Not only that, if you have her katana equipped and have unlocked the correct skill, this is then going to allow you to assassinate enemies through shoji doors, as you can kind of see here. Super cool, meaning that this isn't an automatic assassination move that you can perform. You actually have to have your katana specifically equipped, or you won't see this opportunity to trigger it in the game, and yet you have to unlock that skill with it as well. And the same thing applies here for the Kusurigama, because not only is it designed to be used for the best crowd control option in the game in terms of keeping enemies far at range and allowing you some space to breathe or escape, or even reset that stealth loop we were just talking about from Mirage. But for those times where you do want to get up close and personal for a quick kill, you can unlock and perform the rush assassination ability with this weapon, where you can kind of pull yourself towards them with the chain attached to the sickle and nuke them instantly, which is a really cool animation actually. And thirdly, and perhaps what most people are interested in playing with, is the Tanto and Hidden Blade weapons that, as Ubisoft puts it, is designed for those players who like to kill an enemy with 1,000 cuts and then nuke them repeatedly with lightning fast stabs and slashes. And perhaps one of the most appealing aspects of this weapon choice isn't the cool animation of the Hidden Blade, as when it activates it kind of pivots and comes into this Tanto dagger, similar to Connor from Assassin's Creed 3 back in 2012 I think actually, if memory serves. But the fact that you can now perform double assassinations with this weapon loadout after you unlock the skill is a pretty cool advantage, which of course means that you're then able to eliminate 2 enemies standing next to each other at once on the ground, but the game also allows you to do this from the air as well. Additionally, Naoe also has a lot of tools and stealth gadgets and shinobi tricks in her arsenal, but I'm gonna talk you through them all in a stealth section shortly, as it's easier just to understand how they all work as they complement the stealth mechanic rather than the open weapon combat kind of topics that we're going through now. Because let's go over Yasuke. Firstly, there are no shields in this game, or shields that he can use, as Japanese warfare in that time period did not make use of them on a standard level, and because of that they don't feature in this game. But what we of course do have though is a lot of offensive weapons, including the long katana, which has been scaled up to match Yasuke's big boy size, which like Naoe is balanced in defensive and offensive output stats, arguably being his fastest weapon in terms of damage per second. He also makes use of a spear weapon, which is called the Naginata, and is utilized for crowd control and allows him to jump over 2 meters away in length to his enemy, according to Ubisoft, to close the gap and hit that NPC with a follow-up strike for exceptional damage, similar to Naoe's Kusurigama mechanic. And thirdly, we also have his Konobo, which Ubisoft state is his his deadliest weapon for one-hit damage, because even though it is the slowest, it is his heaviest, as it can remove enemies' armors with one hit, and when utilized or built up with combo points to increase his damage output, and then you use a special ability with the enemy in a vulnerable state, this Konobo pretty much one-shots everything in the game apparently. Well, certainly when I used it, if you time everything correctly. Now, unlike Naoe, Yasuke can equip 2 ranged weapons alongside his primary and secondary melee weapons. The first one he has is called an arquebus or teppo rifle, which follows the same timed mechanics from the assassinations in Valhalla, where if you kind of hit the circle timer just at the right time here, Yasuke will reload quicker and then be able to shoot offensively at a distance at a faster rate, which was fairly overpowered when I used it, but it was actually really enjoyable to switch to it quickly, to be honest with you, in game. If I do play with him, I'm predominantly going to be playing with Naoe, but it will be a quick switch to the gun with a one-shot kill, as you can kind of see me do here with this Ronin. It is good fun. And finally, he has his second range weapon, which is the Japanese Yumi bow, which allows Yasuke to take out enemies quickly and silently from a significant distance. And even though he's a Hulk mode character, you can have a stealth build for him, which we will talk about in that stealth section shortly as well. It's pretty cool actually. But there's also this revamped combat mechanic here in Shadows that you need to know about. It's called Afflictions, and it is important because they are very easily missed in this game. In short, there's 4 of them, which are debuffs that are applied to enemies' health bars if your weapon or armor set has an affliction stat on it that would then be applied to them once you're in combat. So what I mean by this, or I'm going to give you an example here, the Daze Affliction makes enemies miss their attacks, and those enemies then won't be able to defend your incoming attacks, but only after you've hit them enough with your weapon and that affliction build up is then reached, which is this kind of small circle debuff on his health bar here. If I just zoom in here for you, and as you can see, it gives you ample amounts of time to then nuke the enemy without it being too challenging. Now, the other 3 afflictions that haven't yet been shown to us are Bleed, which does a huge amount of damage in one go once the debuff is built up on their health bar, as well as Poison, performing a steady amount of ongoing damage over time, similar to what we saw in Valhalla and Mirage, with the final affliction being called Knockout, meaning that the enemy will remain on the ground for longer if you grab them and then knock them out instead of killing them. So worth speccing in that affliction if you're going for a passive playthrough in this game. And that is a nice transition onto enemies themselves and what different types of adversaries we'll be going toe-to-toe with in this game, starting with servants, which are what Ubisoft call a new archetype of enemy NPC who are non-lethal and they carry no weapons, but they will alert guards if they spot you in specific areas. Now, they are identified by their nameplate, of course, which just says servant above their head, which is quite obvious, but when using eagle vision, they're a orange color compared to the usual white civilian NPC outline. So to prevent them from calling the guards or raising the alarm by ringing a bell, it's best just to dispatch them, get rid of them quickly when you do see them. We also have Outlaws, who are the equivalent of bandits in this game, which are pretty basic NPCs and pretty easy to nuke, alongside the Ashigaru soldiers, who are conscripts in the various Japanese clan armies or volunteers, basically, who make up the basic bulk of the fighting force in this game. They're easily identifiable with their basic soldier armor and straw hats and are a little bit more challenging than bandits, but also react pretty fearfully to Yasuke when in combat because, yeah, he's just a big tank man and carries a big massive stick, so they're pretty scared of him. Next up, we have the Ronin, who are a masterless samurai that are patrolling the world looking for their next meal, as Ubisoft say, and they are employed by Naoe's and Yasuke's enemies, which means that you'll randomly come across them on the roads and they will attack you on sight if they locate you, as what happened to me in my playtest, as you can see here. And as for the samurai themselves, they are a well-trained set of warriors that carry a variety of different weapons in this game, such as katanas and konobos, including a few specific moves in combat that they've got equipped to counter your own moves, making them a little bit more challenging to kill. In fact, the samurai are also more challenging to lure away from their posts, as the AI is more suspicious and harder to trick into stupid decisions. They're also resistant to smoke bombs and other stealth gadgets, so we need to be a bit more tactical on how we engage with them if we want to kill them quickly. But it doesn't stop there, because above the samurai in the pecking order, we have the Samurai Daisho, who are a offshoot of the samurai family and are the enemies that can only be found in military camps, castles, or big boy compounds. Now, they are a lot more challenging than 90% of the other enemies in this game, as they mix and match different fighting styles and moves that you yourself learn in the mastery skill tree, which we'll go over next, with these Daisho guarding chests of some of the best loot in the game, which is how we're going to acquire our legendary weapons and gear. But even above the Samurai Daisho, we have an even more challenging enemy called the Guardians, who could be considered as the ultimate boss fights in this game. They are a super elite group of samurai who are called when reinforcements are requested by a guard ringing the bell if you get spotted in a restricted area, and they will nuke you incredibly fast. So I'm interested to see if we can equip one of their masks if we do manage to kill one of them in game. And speaking of being wanted, I was also informed that there are bounty hunters roaming the open world in Shadows, similar to the mercenaries in Odyssey or the bosses in Valhalla, most recently in the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC back in 2022. But the difference here is that they don't show up on the map in terms of an icon, and they won't attack you on site if you're not wanted by the province. So also looking forward to seeing if there's any juicy loot for us here with these guys. Now, as for the awareness of the enemy AI, from my playtest, I thought it was positive and improved, where, as I've already mentioned, they don't stand and queue to hit you like the old and even most recent AC games. That said, this was a contrast to what I experienced later on in the open world, where several enemies clumped together and refused to follow me up onto a small building where I'd just kind of gone out of line of sight and waited below, not resetting the stealth loop. So hopefully since January, more work has been done behind the scenes and improved the enemy AI before we get into the game at launch. Additionally, when it comes to the AI trying to find you after you've recently been spotted, or as an example, let's say you kill an enemy and the NPC body hits the floor, then the patrolling NPCs will recognize that their fellow guard has then been killed, but they won't raise the alarm. In fact, as confirmed to me by Simon Lemaire-Comptoir, the director of stealth, these guards will search nearby for you, altering their standard patrol routes in an attempt to do so, but they won't ring the castle or hideout bell, notifying everyone else that we're infiltrating their base, because if they did so, then you would be wanted instantly throughout the region, which does bring with it some negative gameplay effects. But let's now go over how your weapons and combat effectiveness can be improved, and that's through mastery skills and knowledge ranks. But let's now go over how your weapons and combat effectiveness can be improved, and that's through mastery skills and knowledge ranks. Now, it is important to know that they are two different mechanics in this game that do work together in tandem, but let's first start with the mastery skill tree, because this is your bread and butter leveling and skill point system in this game, where you gain mastery or skill points by, of course, leveling up your character, with the maximum level being 60, by the way, and you do this by killing assassination targets or samurai daisho, who are the big boy guardians. Now, you can then spend these mastery points in one of the 6 mastery trees to acquire new abilities and skills for a specific weapon type, with each 6 mastery trees offering different improvements and passive bonuses between Yasuke or Naoe, as well as the mastery points that you earn with one character then being transferred to the other, so you kind of level them both evenly. Now, some of these are active abilities that are triggered manually in combat to deal more damage once you do unlock them. That is, of course, after you equip them in your active diamond slots. And a good example of this being when I unlocked the Shadow Barrage ability for Naoe, which avoids all incoming attacks for 20 seconds and then allowed me to nuke the boss super fast. Or you've got the Shadow Piercer upgrade here as well, where Naoe can then stab a target with her Tanto, making them vulnerable and increase damage by 40% for a short time, which is pretty good as well. But there are also passive skills like adrenaline regeneration or combo variations that allow you to perform new moves and do more damage when you do unlock them. In fact, this is probably a good time to mention that you can't actually turn off the black and white kill cam effect. It's part of the game, or its artistic design, and what Charles is calling the special abilities realization. So you're going to have to put up with it if you're not a fan of it in Shadows. Now, you can reset your mastery skill points at any time you want, but you can also unlock every single mastery skill in this game. And when I did ask Charles about this specifically, he said that even when you reach level 60 and then you remain at that level, the game will then continue to level you up, where you'll need around 300 to 400 mastery points to then unlock everything across the 6 skill trees for each character, with the skill tree continuing as well past this, apparently, after you kind of do get to that 100% completion, by then offering continual passive upgrades for both characters going forward. Now, knowledge ranks. Think of this as a separate leveling system that is made up of 6 levels inside each of the 6 mastery trees for each character, which I'm going to highlight on your screen here for you because I know that sounds a little bit confusing. And let's just go back to Yasuke's main character page, as we can see here, and I'm just going to pause it. And if we zoom in on the left-hand corner, you can see how it now says that we are at a knowledge rank level of 3. And to get to that next knowledge rank of 4, we need 10 knowledge points. Well, if we now go back into Yasuke's long katana mastery skill tree and then just pause it here on your screen again, you will notice that one of the requirements to unlock this adrenaline boost upgrade is a knowledge rank of level 5, which is this section here that I'm going to highlight here for you, as well as 2 mastery skill points. But how do we get from level 3 to level 4? Well, we do this by partaking in character specific world activities that are unique to each character, meaning that you could reach the max knowledge level of 6 with Naoe, as well as being level 60 on both characters, which would also mean that you reach level 6 with Yasuke in your knowledge rank level, meaning he doesn't stay at the knowledge rank level of 1, even if you're just focusing on Naoe, even if you've never played with him or partaken in his knowledge point side activities in the world, which was recently confirmed by Ubisoft in their progression article and seems to have changed since I spoke to them in Quebec back in January, but there we are. But that's a good transition onto that topic now, because there's a total of 3 unique world activities for Naoe and 3 for Yasuke, and 2 that they can partake in together, well, independently, but they're the same activity. Now, the first one for Naoe is the Kuji Kiri, which is a meditation rhythm game where you need to press the right buttons at the right time as the activation zone rotates around this circle on your screen here. You can actually turn this minigame off in the settings if you're not really a fan of these timed minigames, but you will want to complete them because not only will you get a knowledge point for doing so, you'll also unlock memories or flashbacks of her past life, which contributes to your overall understanding of the Shadows story. On top of that, there are scrolls dotted around the map, usually at temples, which you'll need to parkour up to and pick up or find lying around, as well as partaking in coffin tombs, which according to Charles are underground caves that are parkour orientated that additionally reward gear pieces and weapons for Naoe, similar again to the Tombs of the Fallen caves in Valhalla in that update. So if you played them, this is going to be familiar here for you apparently, as well as the hidden trails for Naoe, nearly forgot there, which are parkour paths into mountainous areas in the game, which require us to use Naoe's grappling hook to successfully complete them. And I'll of course walk you through parkour changes and updates to this game shortly. Now, as for unique activities for Yasuke, we firstly have the kata, which is another timed rhythm game where he practices the different samurai stances with various different weapons that has been shown and teased numerous times thus far in the marketing material over the last year or so. Additionally, he can partake in horse archery, which is called Yabusemi. Again, sorry for the pronunciation, it just continues to get worse, but that is one of the several disciplines of samurai teachings within this mini game, which is also actually returning from Valhalla again, as you can see from my footage here in, I can't remember exactly what festival, but it was in one of them. So if you played that, you've played this one as well already. And of course, he's got the Kurosawa duels, which are mini-boss types of fighters where we put all the combat skills to the test to defeat very challenging one-on-one enemies independently scattered throughout the world. Now, both Yasuke and Naoe can partake in Sumi-e, which is the name of the traditional Japanese art of calligraphy, whereby one would then paint animals and nature in their purest form. And how this works in Shadows is that you'll come across random animals and birds and wildlife in the world doing a variety of interesting things, and if you manage to sneak up on them whilst not making any noise, you'll be able to watch their interactions and paint them, which will not only provide you with a knowledge point and a cosmetic reward for your hideout, like this grey heron wall decoration here, but it will also unlock a few unique animals that you can then drop or summon into your hideout that can then just wander around in their new home, which I think is pretty cool. It's a nice touch there. On top of that, Jonathan Dumont, the creative director, also mentioned being able to partake in tournament mini-games in Shadows, with a recent clip teasing that both Naoe and Yasuke can partake in them. And we had something similar with lots of waves of enemies that we had to fight off in the brawling arena in the Yule Christmas update, I think, for Valhalla. I'll find that footage there for you and pop it on your screen so you know what I'm talking about, back in 2022, I think. So expect something similar here, or perhaps it's even better than what it was in Valhalla, and expect something similar like the arena that we did have in Odyssey as well. Now let's talk about how gear works in this game alongside what you can customize in Shadows. Now firstly, let's clarify this inventory menu because we can equip 2 weapons in our primary A slot and our secondary B slot, and to the right of that you can then equip a variety of different saddles that will then change the look of your horse to complement your gear set, as well as your gear sets themselves, now only equating to a headpiece or a helmet in game. So that's a chest piece or a torso armor set, so 2 bits of armor to then complete a set compared to Valhalla's 5, I think it was, followed by our final slot here, which is a trinket or amulet that offers a variety of different passive stat boosts. And if you remember, that's one of the pre-order bonuses you get for the Ashigaru set, so that dragon tooth trinket will be socketed here if you do decide to pre-order this game, or certainly when you first start the game and get into it. And below that loadout you'll also have 2 tabs. The first one is your ammo pouch filled with arrows and bullets that apply those affliction debuffs that we spoke about in the combat video, or the combat section if you're watching this video in one big go, with the panel on the right being your bag that is filled with resources and quest items, which I will discuss later in another video in the hideout breakdown, or a little later on in this big boy video here. Now, the gear colored coded rankings reappear here in Shadows. The lowest level gear is called common, and that's denoted by its grey colour, and it's just got basic stats. We then have the upgrade from that, and that's called uncommon, which is a green coloured armour or weapon and has improved stats, and then has 1 perk, which we'll go through in a moment. And then from uncommon we go to rare, which is now blue, with this equipment being stronger and offering 1 perk, but also another slot which you can then equip with an engraving, which again we will go over alongside perks in a second, as it is a little bit confusing. And then from rare, so blue, we move to epic, which is our purple coloured gear set, and this increases the efficiency of core stats of that gear piece, with some of these stats actually being stronger than some legendary gear pieces in game, apparently, according to Ubisoft. And that legendary gear is that lovely yellow kind of orangey color piece here, and that has a unique and hand-picked stat by the developers, whereas all the other armor sets are just randomly generated in the game, as well as including another handcrafted legendary perk or engraving slot here for this particular item. And in this example, you can then increase your damage with Yasuke using this Daimyo armor set, but your health is reduced by 75% to 25%, so it's a big trade-off, but if you're good in combat, then it is worth the risk because that's a massive increase. And that's just an example of a lot of different unique stats like this across legendary armor sets in the game, and that's a good transition onto how looting actually works in this game. Because as confirmed to me by Charles Benoit, the game director, there are a total of 33 legendary armor pieces in this game, which is subject to change, by the way. That's just what he said to me in January. So that is head pieces and chest pieces, essentially. So it's not 33 individual legendary armor sets, it's just 33 pieces, and that doesn't include weapons or multiple variations of common, uncommon, rare, or epic gear sets in the game. So there's potentially hundreds of those, which means that also every gear item or quality that isn't a legendary item and is randomly dropped or dispersed in random chests throughout the world, well, it literally is an RNG kind of mechanic, which basically means who knows what we're going to get. We're just going to have to wait and see. So just like Odyssey, Valhalla, and Mirage, the main gear sets in the game will be in the same locations for everyone, in static chest locations, predominantly in heavily guarded castles around the world that Charles says will offer unique and challenging encounters with stealth and combat specifically. Now, perks. These are enhancements on a piece of equipment that are fixed on legendary equipment, as we've just discussed, but once you unlock the forge at your hideout, you can then craft your own perks through engravings to then boost that gear piece even further. Now, let me give you another example here. Naoe's Honor Musha headband allows us to vault over enemies whilst you press the sprint forward button on your controller. So if we equip the headband here and then just go and try this out on an outlaw, as you can see, when we do parry and press the sprint forward button, she'll just hop over the outlaw and get the drop on him from behind. And the same thing goes for the chest piece of this same legendary armor set, where you can knock down enemies while sliding into them. And if we use another outlaw as an example, as you can see here, Naoe charges into him, hits him on the ground for that knockdown affliction bonus, and kills him with her Kurisurigama very quickly. Now, you'll also notice there is another 2 slots on this gear piece, or each one for an extra engraving to be added. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, we can add those engravings to boost this gear set even further. But to get hold of these engravings, we have to do that by killing targets throughout the world, who will then drop them as loot, as well as opening a variety of different gear chests, or even purchasing them from gear vendors which are dotted throughout the villages, towns, and cities in this game. Now, alongside legendary gear like this Honor Musha set that we just had a look at, You can also find legendary engravings that only drop from legendary enemies or chests in the world, but the caveat to that being that you need to upgrade the forge back at your hideout to level 3 to then equip them into your Honor Musha legendary set, just as an example, and that was confirmed to me by Akeem Milne, who is one of the associate directors, who was very kind enough to answer a lot of my questions in Quebec during my playtest. I certainly felt sorry for him after I wouldn't shut up for an hour and a half. So in theory here, if you find the best perks in the game, you can really customize your weapons and armor sets to have some pretty wild gameplay bonuses if you take the time to engage with this mechanic. And I will of course have lots of tips and tricks and build videos for you post-release, so if you haven't already done so, do subscribe to get those videos popping up on your feed in the next few weeks after launch. So alright then, you've sorted out a fantastic armor and weapon set build where all of the engravings and perks are working perfectly for you in terms of how you actually like to play this game. But there's a problem. The gear set looks absolutely terrible and you want to have a better look when you're out and about assassinating enemies, and I don't blame you. Well, we've got good news here, because after you build the forge in the hideout, you can then transmogrify your gear, which is an old World of Warcraft term used to describe how you can change the look of your armor set without then changing the stats of it. And an example here, let's say I want to keep these swift shinobi robes equipped for that extra assassination damage, but I prefer the look of the tools master gear set here, where I can then just change the look directly in the menu with no need to visit a vendor, pay money, or return to the forge to do so, which you had to do in Valhalla, which was a terrible quality of life feature. So it's great to see that changed here, or listen to the feedback from the community by the developers and implement an easy to use system here in Shadows. Additionally, you can also hide or remove the headpiece or armor sets in this game visually, but just know that you can't use an emote to then put your hood up or down in game. Equally, if you like to wear your assassin hood or helmet at all times, they will automatically be removed in certain cutscenes, as they want to show Naoe and Yasuke's faces, so it is something to be aware of. That said, instead of just allowing the transmogrification of gear, Quebec have also included the customization of your weapons and are only showing off this feature with the katanas at the moment. But in their recent news article, they did describe this feature as being able to switch weapon skins and visuals across different weapon types, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to do this across all of Naoe and Yasuke's weapons. Well, certainly the handles and guards, I do hope that their kind of cosmetic design and patterns can be easily transferred, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And actually, final note on customization when it comes to the outfits, because I asked both Thierry Dansereau, the art director, and Jonathan Dumont, the creative director, about legacy armor sets, such as equipping Altair's outfit in game, and both of them outright didn't confirm to me that it is coming to the game, but both did smile and said that we need to stay tuned for updates in the Animus Hub section, which I will also swiftly break down for you a little later on, because now let's go on and talk about stealth. Because as Simon Lemay Comtois has stated, stealth in Shadows has been completely overhauled compared to previous RPG AC games, and that's because stealth now plays a big role in who you can't assassinate across the map. Now, what I mean by that is, as you know, our max level in this game is 60, but that doesn't mean we can't venture into provinces which are much higher than our current level in game, which is highlighted in red, as you can see here from my footage on the map. Now, this means if we do enter those areas, we're going to have a harder time assassinating or killing enemies if we're playing with Naoe and utilizing her hidden blade weapon, meaning that the enemies that we try to assassinate will very likely result in a denial or us being unsuccessful. And if we just pause it here in these new recent clips from Ubisoft, you can see that the color of their health bar will change to reflect the outcome of this assassination attempt and its overall success. So white is a big tick and we'll be able to kill him. Yellow means that we'll only do some damage, but we won't kill him outright. And the red bar will deny the assassination, with a skull icon, by the way, denoting that the enemy is 5 levels higher than we are currently. And let me show you an example here. As you can see, if I just pause this again and zoom in for you, we can't fully commit and kill this samurai Daisho, as the assassinate icon is yellow, meaning 3 of the possible 4 bars will be removed with an aerial assassination attempt, but it won't outright kill him. And let me unpause this and then show you the changes that we need to make to get this dude killed, because what we need to do is head back into our infantry and equip our legendary armor set called the Swift Shinobi Robes, as its main perk will add an additional +2 health segment bars to our damage output when we do assassinate enemies from the air, which is exactly what we need if that's how we like to play. So with this now equipped, let's then rewind time and go back to our perch before we assassinated this Daisho. And if I just pause it here again, we can now see that the 4 health bars have all been removed and the assassination prompt is white, which is provisionally telling us that we can now one-shot this target thanks to that perk increase from the armor set. Now, this then all comes back around to the specific perk selection that we just discussed, or the mastery point investments into the right abilities that are then right for you in the early game, and how they can, as the example we've just gone through, how that can have a big impact for you. Because Akeem Milne told me in Quebec that even if you are running with a low level stealth build, or if you're quite low level in game, but you have maxed out your shinobi stealth skill tree, increasing the damage output of your assassinations, as well as equipping gear that also contributes to higher assassination damage, you could play in provinces across the map that are nearly 20 levels above you, killing these skull targeted enemies in just one shot, because you've spec Naoe around just specifically doing that. So then this means as a whole, you are not restricted by your core level across the map, and you can beat the game if you organize your skills and loadout with a specific intention in mind, with the same fundamentals here applying to Yasuke and combat. Incidentally, if you can't be asked to do all of that, you can actually just turn on the instant assassination in the settings menu, which means you can just one-shot everyone with a quick kill of your hidden blade, and yeah, there you go, mission complete. On to the next one. In fact, before I forget, you can assassinate with Yasuke as well, but because he's a big bumbling goon with a huge amount of armor on, you need to walk up incredibly slowly behind an enemy in a specific restricted region or area not to alert him, or you can just walk out and take them out aggressively, which is quite satisfying to do if you're in that kind of mood. Now let's talk about actually hiding in the shadows in this game, as Ubisoft have introduced a brand new mechanic throughout the world called dynamic lighting, which means that you can become invisible to enemy NPCs whilst you hide in the darkness, almost replacing social stealth essentially, as it doesn't really appear in it doesn't appear in this game at all. This also means that if there is no darkness for us to stealth through, we can create the darkness for ourselves by throwing shinobi knives at lanterns, torches, or any sort of light that illuminates an area that we need to then stealth past. The thing is though, you can't throw a knife at the moon to stop its light beams reflecting down on you and making you visible to guards. So as you can see here, you're going to need to be careful where you walk in case you get spotted. Almost like playing the floor is lava, where if you step on a specific part of the floor, if you know what I mean, you're then going to become identifiable to patrolling guards. And from my own personal experience, it's one of the best new additions to the game, as it's an incredibly cool experience to assassinate an enemy in the middle of a courtyard and then not be discovered or have the alarm raised by the guards. It does take a little bit of time to get used to. That said, this shadow stealth mechanic isn't just for Naoe. You can hide in the shadows with Yasuke, but the problem is when he's wearing all of his armor, he makes a lot of noise, even when moving very slowly in game, which will alert enemies or guards to his movements, and that's a good transition onto that topic now. Because noise does play a significant role in this game when generally moving around when you're attempting to stealth, or just when you're not. For example, you'll have to proactively initiate the recovery roll by pressing the dodge button when just landing from a certain height that you jump off, which will eliminate fall damage and most importantly soften the sound of the impact that Naoe makes when she hits the ground. Yasuke just hits the ground, by the way. So the same thing kind of applies here for sprinting across certain rooftops whilst in a close vicinity of enemies, but the weather and rain, thunder and lightning will also provide you with a little bit more sound insurance, so to speak, so you can be a little bit quicker with your movements without the risk of being heard when the weather is on your side. That said, one thing that we do need to watch out for is the Nightingale floorboards, which are specifically designed to creak when someone walks over them. In fact, take a listen to this clip yourself so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Our forces will join up there. That's enough.
Now, alongside these creaking floorboards, the majority of the world is now almost all destructible. You can actually bump into lanterns or certain objects inside or outside buildings that will then make a sound or break and then alert those sleeping in the neighboring rooms, or even the targets patrolling around you or the one that you're after. So being patient and moving slowly is the best way to go if you really want to be a shinobi ninja. Or alternatively, you could just charge through everything with Yasuke and alert the entire fortress if that's what you want to do. Now, another mechanic updated for Shadows is the ability ability to grab enemies whilst undetected and then just manually drag them in any direction that you want, which removes the automatic locked-in character animation movements that we've had from recent AC games, but also brings it back in a kind of new way, as we actually used to be able to grab and just throw enemies into stuff in the OG games, and we can now do that again in Shadows. This also means that we can take them down non-lethally instead of just instantly assassinating them. So if you are chasing a higher difficulty in this game, a passive playthrough, so killing only when necessary, then dragging and knocking them out in secure locations where they then won't be discovered is going to be your bread and butter game plan here in this game. Now, the new stealth changes do keep coming in Shadows, which is good news, because for another series first, we can now lie down or go prone with Naoe and Yasuke, which comes with its own set of new animations. So for example, you can whistle over a servant here to your location, roll out of the bush, assassinate them, place them back in the bush for hiding, and then go back to being prone, ready for your next move out of sight, remaining in stealth, which is pretty awesome. You can also go prone whilst underwater, which is when Naoe will pull out a reed for breathing, so you can stay submerged and undetected until you feel like it's the right time to strike your target, with the developers saying Yasuke doesn't like this when you try and go underwater with him. So it looks like Naoe is our only option when it comes to underwater stealth for now. And speaking of hiding places, the team have also placed these new hiding boxes around the world, which can be used to conceal yourself or even hide enemy NPCs' bodies. They're pretty much a horizontal version of the wardrobes and rooftop gardens that we've had in previous AC games, but definitely a cool animation when you do trigger it for the first time, which I will be doing a lot of in this game. Now, what about those fancy stealth gadgets and tools that Naoe can use in and out of stealth in Shadows? Well, firstly, the throwing knives do return here from previous games, most recently Mirage, which are called the kunai, and that you can then use in combat, but also out of it for that one-shot satisfying head kill on certain enemies. Secondly, we have the smoke bombs, which also return from Mirage, which creates a cloud of smoke that allows you to escape, or alternatively, you can actually just drop them on the floor and then instantly assassinate certain enemies in the smoke, as you can kind of see here from my recent playtest, so quite overpowered if you use them correctly. Thirdly, we have the shuriken, which are star-shaped throwing weapons that temporarily stun enemies who are progressing towards you. As you can also see from my fully tested out footage here, giving yourself a little bit more time to decide your next move. And fourthly, we have the shinobi bells, which is a way to distract or lure enemies away from their position or posts to create an opportunity to then sneak on by. Now, when it comes to stealth with Yasuke, you can create a range build by equipping his Yumi bow, which we did speak about earlier, as well as unlocking the legendary Archer set that increases his damage and allows you to engrave stealth-orientated perks into that set to then buff his stealth damage and just stealth overall. Now, this is especially useful if you plan to run with his katana equipped as well, because then you can perform stealth assassinations with him, as well as crawl into bushes for stealth range takedowns, and even use our own assassin ally Ashigaru here to help disable other close by enemies for Yasuke to then dispatch easily without then being spotted. So even though he won't be as effective as Naoe when it comes to stealth, you can still create a build for him to be able to hold his own when it does come to sneaking around castles in stealth. Now, whilst we're on this topic of sneaking around a compound or castle, and as confirmed to me by the directors, we have 13 black box stealth missions that will predominantly be taking place in these castles and fortresses. And if you're scratching your head here and thinking, what on earth is a black box mission? What's he talking about? Well, quite simply, it's a name used to describe the main storyline assassination missions in this game, where you are presented with a variety of different opportunities, routes, and various choices on how you want to play through this enclosed mission, resulting in you killing your target, which could be different each time you play it. Now, unfortunately, these missions are not replayable, so I asked the developers, when is the best time to kind of manually save, meaning you can then load that save file before the mission again another time if you want to try a different route for fun. And they said that when you see a dialogue option on the screen that says we're ready, or we're ready to begin, that's when you want to drop a manual save. So definitely worth remembering this before you play, because these missions will likely be a very big highlight of the game. In fact, I suggested to the game directors that these missions need to be replayable in some sort of Animus memory menu, similar in format to the old school AC games, which is an idea that they did like. So hopefully these replayable features gets added in the future or in a future update. But what about parkour then? What's new about it in Shadows? Well, it's undergone some serious upgrades, as it was one of the main reasons why the game was delayed in the first place, as the feedback received by playtesters was very poor last year. So Jonathan Dumont, the creative director, stated that there was a stickiness to this parkour, and having the extra time has allowed them to accelerate the responsiveness of Naoe, specifically around rooftops. And after I did play the game, I went back and reviewed the new parkour footage that we have, and then also reviewed the June gameplay trailer footage that they released. And I'm actually going to put these clips side by side for you on your screen so you can see these fluid changes for yourself, because Naoe does seem to be less sticky, as Jonathan says, and certainly more fluid and agile in her movements. In fact, whilst we're on the topic of flipping off buildings, something I was very surprised to experience myself is that we can now perform manual flips ourselves, meaning that when we jump off buildings, we can press the dodge button and perform a proactive acrobatic flip, adding a little bit of spice or flair into an otherwise serious situation in game, which is very cool. We can also perform self-initiated directional flips off certain ledges, which will run through a series of various acrobatic transitions and automations, so it does keep it fresh and not automated like these previous games, with Eivor most recently just doing nothing as he, whoever you played as, jumps off buildings. So a simple addition here, but it's a very, very cool mechanic to have when parkouring, just for that little bit of je ne sais quoi, so to speak. Now, another thing I was initially taken aback by was how quick Naoe was with her in-game movements just generally compared to other recent AC protagonists that we've got used to, because as confirmed by the development team, Naoe is the fastest protagonist in the series, and when I jumped into the game, it almost felt like it was she was too fast, but very pleased to say that you do acclimatise to the speed quite quickly, which is predominantly due to how well her parkour and movement animations do melt together, because it didn't matter what parkour route I chose, the game responded instantaneously and produced the most appropriate non-sluggish animation that then just best fit the specific object I was trying to vault over, if that makes sense, or jump across, and it felt very smooth. In fact, you can specifically trigger what Ubisoft is calling a sprint dodge move, which is an ability that allows you to perform an extended dive roll over certain objects or through holes in the wall when you're at a full tilt sprint, also reducing incoming damage from enemies who are pinging arrows and bullets at you apparently. However, Yasuke doesn't have the same parkour agility as Naoe when he's sprinting. Instead, he'll perform what Ubisoft have coined as a automated shoulder tackles, which is essentially him just running through wooden doors, which is actually pretty fun to experience or trigger in game when you do get into it, but that kind of wears off a little bit quickly. Now, you can also sprint slide into different stances, such as sprinting into a crouch or prone stance, which does bring you to a full stop, which is ideal if you think you're about to be spotted by a nearby enemy. Now, as Naoe is the parkour ninja in this game, there's a couple more upgrades to her general overall movements. The first is what Ubisoft call Parkour Up, which has been improved in the sense that Naoe can now transition and jump to automatic hand grips much quicker than previous AC games. So that means that when you hold the parkour button and just run at a wall, it should just feel more seamless. Secondly, the recovery roll, which we spoke about earlier, can be activated straight away by pressing the dodge or circle button as soon as you land onto the ground to dissipate any significant fall damage or make a racket or make any sound to alert nearby guards. On top of that, the dodge button has now been improved when descending or parkouring down from buildings, which means that you can approach the edge of a ledge and then just automatically dodge your way down fluidly to the ground floor instead of the manual mess that was recently Valhalla. Incidentally, when you're up on the higher part of a castle in game or a fortress with Naoe, if you were to just jump off it or jump down to the ground and then try and roll, you would potentially die because it's so high up in terms of fall damage. Now you can actually perform a high structure safety descent, if I'm remembering that correctly from Ubisoft, which will allow Naoe to flip over and hang on the edge, and then she is ready to then move on to the next lower part of the structure or the hand grips below her. And in this case, when she does, she can then flip off into a haystack, which is a really cool animation. You can also backwards dodge manually off any structure when you place Naoe's back towards the edge of it of a ledge, as you can kind of see here, which will then trigger Naoe to perform this backflip onto the ground that also muffles sound, keeping Naoe in stealth and not alerting any enemies to her presence via the noise that she would have otherwise made if she had just jumped down to the ground normally. Additionally, when you are prone or lying down on the ground, you can dodge and roll into certain directions with Naoe, which will also allow you to perform very cool assassinations, as you can kind of see here on your screen. There's also unclimbable surfaces in this game, similar to Mirage, where the team didn't want us to climb everywhere or across everything in this game, meaning that they could have more control and fine-tune the areas in the game that Naoe can specifically parkour around. But as for Yasuke, it's a lot more simple, because if you just run at a wall, even a small one like this, he'll just boink his head and basically tell you, or it's a good indicator that it's not good. He's not going to climb the wall. He's not going to climb that small fence for you. In fact, he's not particularly decent with his leap of faith technique either, as you can kind of see here. In fact, listen to what he has to say about it.
That was not ideal.
Yeah, so that's not ideal, but I tell you what is ideal, and that's this new grappling hook in Shadows, with Jonathan Dumont, the creative director, saying that the grappling hook has enhanced the parkour experience in this game, with the grapple physics being quite dangerous to use, as it could not go as you intend, as you need to be quite specific with your intentions when you do use it. In fact, this isn't the first time we've had a grapple hook in Assassin's Creed, as we last saw it in Syndicate over 10 years ago, I think. That really does make me feel old. I remember playing that game at launch, but it has been greatly improved since then, as there's a few specific moves you can do with it. Firstly, what Ubisoft is calling vertical ascent, where you can just run under any horizontal rooftop ledge or near the corner of any building and then just throw your hook up there to begin scaling the walls and getting to the top of the castle or building. You can also perform a wall ascent, where you will then approach a unclimbable wall that we just spoke about, and then you can quickly sprint up to a point or to reach the apex, and you'll know when she hits the apex because she kind of just jumps away, and that's when you need to press your grapple hook button to then throw the rope to attach to this top of the building or this unclimbable castle, which is a pretty sweet move, to be fair. Thirdly, I think this is my favorite move after my playtest with the game, which was being able to use the grapple hook inside buildings, which made me feel like Spider-Man Ninja. It certainly felt like I was playing an Insomniac game for sure, because it allows you to pull yourself out of sight of enemies and then just patiently wait until they pass, or alternatively you can just assassinate them from the ceiling, which was also really fun. But when you're outside and you want to traverse distances quickly, you can perform the hook swing move, where you attach your grapple hook to multiple different hook points around the game, so you can then cross large gaps without dying, where the team have confirmed that these hidden trails that we spoke about in the world event section earlier, well, those are created with the intention of challenging us to string together multiple hook swings at the same time without touching the ground, similar to what we saw in Ghost of Tsushima. If you played that game, pretty much going to be the same here. You can even assassinate from the air, actually, after releasing from the apex of your kind of hook swing. So I think there's going to be a lot of functionality, a lot of fun to be had with this one for sure. I'm interested to see all the clips that people are going to be releasing after launch. But there's one place in this game where you won't be swinging around in, and that's in your hideout, which is another brand new mechanic in this game, and let's go over that right now. Because it's going to unlock around 5 or so hours into the main storyline and provide you with a customizable area where you can cash in resources gathered by looting enemy camps, which we did discuss earlier in our scout section, which you can then use to construct a variety of buildings that have a gameplay impact for you as you progress through Shadows. Now, the first is the Kakarega building, which is where you manage all other Kakarega buildings that you unlock across the map. Next, we have the Forge, which, as we also discussed earlier, allows you to upgrade your gear and weapons to improve its stats, as well as construct engravings of specific perks that you can then add to that gear to then build out Naoe Yasuke in a specific way that you'd like. This is, of course, also where you would then unlock the transmog feature, which you can then use anytime in your inventory menu. We then have the Study, which allows you to expand your scout network and improve the search range of those blue scout zones on your map, meaning you can unfog more of the map every time that you do use or dispatch a scout. And fourthly, we have the Stables, which allows you to customize your saddle for your horse, but as you upgrade this building, it will allow scouts to bring more resources back to your hideout every season. And as for the dojo, this is that area where you can interact and manage your allies by upgrading their abilities and then just changing their outfits if you want to. But it doesn't stop there, because there's several other cosmetic and passive buildings that you can also construct in your hideout, such as the Nando, which allows you and your allies to have a restful night's sleep, which then reduces the cost of replenishing scouts by 30%, as well as the Gallery, which allows you to display your gear, weapons and equipment on these show stands so you can admire your collection, similar to what we saw in the Armory update towards the end of Valhalla's lifespan. And that is a good transition onto customization in the hideout, because as Charles confirmed, there is a lot more of it in Shadows compared to Ravensthorpe in Valhalla. In fact, we can now add in bamboo fences, build specific pathways that then connect buildings together, as well as build new rooms and then just connect them together to other buildings in your hideout, kind of mashing them all up into this new village, as it were. Or like I just did here, you can even build an outdoor connection pathway between buildings if you fancy then spreading things out a little bit around your hideout. In fact, that's a good time to mention, you can specifically choose where you want to put your buildings in this zone, in this area, but it only can be placed, well, these buildings can only be structured inside this green perimeter, or this building zone, with no penalty on deleting or removing your buildings or creations, as the resources are then instantly refunded, which is a good thing. You can also unlock building cosmetics in the world and change the look of the tiling of roof textures, put trophies of your travels up on the walls, place flags outside in your garden, or even pop up the tapestry, Sekiro mask and the Mitsubaki pot that you picked up if you did pre-order the game ahead of time. And this is certainly the area where you would then utilize those pre-order bonuses. But most importantly though, as we did discuss earlier, when you do pet animals or paint them whilst exploring the open world, they're then unlocked and can be added and dropped into your hideout, as you can kind of see me do here. And I'm wondering if they would, or if they have increased the 25 animal limit cap that I was then capped at in my playtest, because I would just spam too many cat spawns in my hideout. I wonder if they're going to crank that up, because 25 is just not enough. Now, this is all good fun, but my concern here is that it did feel quite empty, where I was informed by the dev team that more NPCs will arrive and live in your hideout as the game does progress, which will contribute to that immersive feeling of a bustling village. I'm also a little bit tentative about the amount it costs to upgrade all of these buildings, and we'll get them to all level 3. So I can foresee a little bit of a bloated grind here just to get this settlement to the max level of that 9. And you would do that obviously by refreshing the seasons to farm those resources at different castles and bandit camps. But let's just wait and see if they've changed it, or what the actual grind time is, farm time is at launch. Now, I just quickly want to fire through the resources in your inventory menu here and what they do and how they relate to your hideout, as it's going to be the main currency in regard to upgrading your buildings and getting what you want in this game. Firstly, crops, wood and minerals are the main 3 resources that you're going to be looting from stockpiles, which are those warehouses that you send your scouts to smuggle or generally loot in chests throughout the world. This obviously works in tandem with Mon, which is the transactional currency in this game between you vendors and just buying stuff for whatever you want. Now, below these 4 you have crafting materials, with hemp cloth being used for improving Naoe's armor and can be obtained by dismantling gear sets that you find and then don't plan to use for a reimbursement of resources. And the same mechanic here is being applied to leather for Yasuke's armor, so instead of just selling them to a vendor, you can dismantle and get some resources back. But silk, on the other hand, is used for improving or upgrading your trinkets, with gold contributing to upgrading legendary armor or legendary engravings. We then have the Tamahagin, used to improve Yasuke's samurai weapons, oakwood for his ranged weapons, and iron sand for Naoe's weapons. Now, all of these can be obtained from, of course, opening chests and completing local side quests or contracts in your Kakarega in each of those provinces respectively. So it's going to be a resource grind here to fully upgrade your armor sets, and at least now you know what to expect when you come into this game. But what about the Animus Hub? What do we need to know about that? Because it's going to be the first thing you see when you do log into Shadows. That is, if you do decide to play this game, and let's go through that right now. So when you do boot up Shadows, you're going to see this main menu here, and it is a hub and it's not a launcher, because in the words of the franchise team who led this presentation in Quebec, they said that we don't need another standalone launcher, which I completely agree with, and they were of course referring to Ubisoft Connect. In fact, the team said that if you can't load into this hub and get into your Assassin's Creed games quickly, then they failed as a dev team, which I honestly appreciate the honesty there as a player. We'll see if it's fast at launch. So, all right then, it kind of basically links your Ubisoft account and brings all of your previous Assassin's Creed games into one easy navigational menu, as you can see here, so you can jump in and out of them. And apparently it loads fast, but what else is the point of it? Well, the team also wanted to create a continuous reward progression system in this hub that works alongside all future AC games and updates. This means that just by playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, you'd pick up some pretty cool armor sets, weapons, and cosmetics in this hub that is entirely free and, most importantly, completely separate from the main microtransaction store in the top right-hand corner. Reward system aside, this is where the hub gets a little bit more interesting, because this hub is now, in a way, where the new storyline will expand from, that is currently in the process of being completely revamped, and let's go through that right now, because with the launch of Shadows and this Animus Hub, we will no longer be jumping into the Animus as protagonists like Layla, but rather we are now the main storyline, so to speak. So in fact, the team actually said on this point that this hub is going to provide us with a coherent, ongoing and consistent modern day storyline that brings together the whole of the AC universe. Now, to do this, the franchise team has now reimagined this modern day storyline, where they said to us in a presentation, and I quote, "We are pushing the story a little bit into the near future, which has allowed us to create a new version of the Animus, which will have wider reaching impact on the world that the modern day story takes place in." Now, this new version of the Animus is now called the Animus Ego, where we as the user or the storyline utilize a hacked version of this Animus called the Dark Animus, which allows us to access memories that Abstergo doesn't want us to see or experience. And this starts with Shadows, which, as you can see here, is how we then load into the game and where we start the overall new rebooted storyline. So we're going to have to just wait to launch to really understand how this is all going to coming together, but it's a good time to get back into Assassin's Creed. But actually, whilst we're on the topic of the Animus, let's now fly through some new upgrades here in this settings menu. Now we're on the main menu that you definitely need to know before you play. First of all, Charles confirmed to me in an interview that there will indeed be a New Game Plus update launching towards the end of this year for Shadows, which is very good news, as we didn't get this in Valhalla at all. So we've got to entertain ourselves until the DLC in the summer, and then we should get this New Game Plus update at the end of the year, which is what I reckon will happen, but hopefully it'll be sooner. Now, we don't have any photo mode footage that's been teased to us or shown to us by Ubisoft yet, and I wasn't able to actually look at it in our playtest. They disabled it, but just know that it is in the game and available for you photographers. But as you can't perform any emotes in this game either, you're gonna have to be very quick with your camera trigger finger if you want to capture a cool move in game. Now, as for the UI, you can completely hide it or customize it in the settings menu for a complete immersive experience, as well as remap your controller and keyboard buttons to whatever you want to play the game in a way that you particularly prefer. And we've also already confirmed that turning on the automatic assassination option is possible, but you can also turn on the autocomplete settings as well for all of those annoying mini timed games that you don't particularly want to do 20 times over in Shadows, which will largely be those world events and side activities that we went through earlier. So if you're not bothered, turn this on, enjoy the cutscenes, and then chill out for 2 minutes until it kind of auto completes or finishes for you. Also, the brutal animations and gore finishes, I appreciate that some of you may not want to see that, but that can be turned off in the settings. So if you don't want to actually see heads rolling around or blood splattering everywhere, just know that, yeah, you're covered on that front. As for combat difficulty, you can change this throughout your time with Shadows from, if I remember correctly, story, forgiving, normal, and then to expert, as well as stealth difficulty settings also being customizable to forgiving, normal, and expert. And while I'm editing, I will just pop this on your screen for you, so if you want to pause it and read what all of those descriptions do to kind of get a feel of what best suits you, you can do that. Now, sound wise, you can also adjust the time it takes before exploration music kind of starts playing when you leave a specific area, as well as turning on the dynamic range option, which means super loud sounds are quieter and quiet sounds are super loud when you're playing during the night, for example, which is quite a nice feature. Now, I asked Charles and Jonathan about Easter eggs in this game, which they both confirmed there will be a lot of, including a hint that there are some super secrets that only appear at certain times of the day in certain locations within a specific season. So it's going to be a hunt from the community to try and find out what that is or what they are, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But as this is Ubisoft's newest AAA big boy Assassin's Creed game since 2020, there's a lot of marketing now being pushed for it alongside their partner brands. And let's go through a few of these because it includes a couple free rewards that you can redeem right now. Starting with Sprecher Brewery here, who's giving you a free weapon for Yasuke before the game releases, where you need to scan a QR code on their root beer cans to redeem an in-game weapon on your Ubisoft Connect account. The funny thing is though, the marketing team accidentally put the QR code on their website, so you don't even need to buy the beer or be in the States, by the way. You can just scan the QR code on your browser, which then opens up the website, which I will pop in the description for you. And once you're there, just enter your details or use like a temporary generated mailbox to generate a throwaway email, and then just wait for your code to arrive. Once it does, click the official redeem link in that email, log into your Ubisoft account and enter the Sprecher Brewery code. You'll then get confirmation that the weapon has been attached to your account and will show for you in game on launch day. Now, Focus Fuel, who are another North American brand that sell caffeine gummies, are also doing the same thing as Sprecher here, but they've been a little bit more smart about displaying their QR code, as the one that they've placed on the website just redirects you back to their homepage of their brand website. So if you want another Nagatana for Yasuke here, you're gonna have to go and find this brand on the shelves and then redeem it for yourself. Now, Red Bull have also waded into the mix here by offering you this very cool Red Bull medallion trinket for Naoe in-game, which provides you with a plus 3% affliction build-up on enemies above half of their health, as well as this Red Bull wooden plaque trinket, which restores 2% health on a successful dodge in-game for Naoe. But to get these items, these trinkets, you need to complete a quiz on their website, which I will pop the link down below in the description for everything I'm mentioning in this video, by the way. But if you fancy doing this now, I've just put all of the correct answers on your screen. So either take screenshots of my answers right now or just pause the video or come back to it later to make sure you get everything right for this unlock. In fact, I'm actually just going to put the claim prize URL in the description as well, just in case you can just put your email in on this page, bypass the whole quiz. And actually, if that does work, let me know in the comments, and leave a like on the video as well if it does actually work and these all redeem for you for free. Now, Ubisoft are releasing a full guidebook as well for this game, where it includes complete walkthroughs, chapter companions throughout the main story to keep you updated on what's going on, give you a refresh or a recap when you actually come back to the game, and a lot of tips and tricks apparently. So if you plan to pre-order or play this game, you can do the same for this book if it sounds like something that you'd like to have alongside you when you're sat chilling out playing Shadows. Now, Lexip, I think I pronounced that correctly, is also partnering with Ubisoft to give away various different Shadows designed gaming peripherals. In fact, my understanding is that Lexip came up with the idea and attempted to crowdfund this concept on Kickstarter, receiving the backing from people, which generated over 250,000 euros, which is actually insane. So well done to them. But if you manage to get your hands on some of this gear, let me know, because it looks absolutely sick and I'd love to play Shadows with it. Speaking of which, I'd also love to play the game with a samurai sword on my desk down here next to me, and it looks like I may be able to do so, as Ubisoft have partnered with Ravenforge, where you'll be able to purchase a real model replica of Naoe's Tanto blade and Yasuke's Wakizashi sword. And again, I won't lie to you, I think these look absolutely banging, so worth a consideration if you end up really enjoying this game and you're a little bit partial to samurai swords. Now, if you've watched this far, I just want to say thank you, as this video took me about a month, I'm not even joking, to make, and I hope you found it enjoyable and informative. And please do let me know in the comments if you did get to the end of this video. I would really appreciate that. And if you haven't already done so, please do like and subscribe for more Assassin's Creed Shadows content, because as I mentioned, I'm playing the game right now in early access, and I will have some really good, concise, effective, useful tips and tricks for you very soon. That video may already be on your screen right now, so give that a click and hopefully I will see you there in just a second. Big thanks to Nika, my co-content creator, for helping me make this video, and the awesome UK Ubisoft team for the invitation to Quebec, and the Quebec team They're all very patient, very kind, and they allowed me to share all of this information with you. So yeah, thanks very much for your time. Cheers for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you in that next video in just a second. Oh, and as usual, coffee is on me.